At this point, let's take care of our shooting mechanics. So in the player holder, I have a player shooter script that I'll open now and explain. It starts with the default shoot delay. So basically we have our current shoot delay here, and we'll set it on the start to be the default shoot delay. And we have a timer that's running that will update every frame, and whenever the timer crosses the shoot delay that I've set here, then the timer will be set to 0 again and we'll shoot. And the shoot function basically instantiates a shootable prefab on our position. So this is the shoot from is basically a transform that we will put on our editor so that we have a starting point from where the shooting will instantiate, and then we'll initiate the shootable with our damage per shootable. And now let's move into a shootable script. So this is basically attached with our shootable, and we initiate it with this variable so that whenever we hit our enemies, we know how much we should damage them. And of course we are not using it here, but it's nice to have it from the start. And we have attached this player shooter to the player holder. We have this shootable prefab that's basically a cylinder, and it has a collider here attached, and it also has the shootable script which we defined here. It's basically a variable and a initiate function. And we also have a move forward script attached here. It's basically similar to what we had on the player with a different move speed variable. And we also have a shoot pivot from where the shooting will start, so it's a bit in front of the player. And now if we play, we can see the shooting working as expected. See, now it's time to focus on the modifiers. So as you can see that we have created a simple trigger here. It's basically a cube which is scaled up, and it has a collider in there which I have set as a trigger. And whenever the player crosses this trigger, we'll enable a log here. So basically we have this like modifier log which has a function named modify, and whenever the player goes through this, the player will invoke this modify function, and this script will basically do a log of modify player. And let's see where this modify function is being called from. So basically we have this player controller script, and whenever it enters a trigger and finds the tag modifier, it tries to find the modifier log script in there, and if it finds it, it basically calls this modify function of this script. So where is our player controller script? It's basically in our player crowd, which was previously named as player holder. And this is basically a naming convention that I like, and it goes with the game, and it makes things a bit more clear than it previously was. And because we have this player controller here, we also have this rigid body and our capsule collider that will basically track the triggers ahead. And now if you move forward, we'll see that we are getting our modifier log. Nice, here it is. So this is where we left off. We had our modifier log class that was triggered when the player enters, and what we want to do is to have a base modifier class and not an exact implementation of what it will do. And to do that, we have to create a modifier base abstract class which will have an abstract function for the modify function, and which should look like this basically. And in our modifier log, we can see that we can inherit from this modifier base class and override the modify function. And previously where we called the modify function from our modifier log, now we replace that with our modifier base. Player controller does not need to know what the modification is. It can be modification of the character crowd, it can be the modification of the weapon edge, and it can be basically anything you want. And the player controller does not care about any of that. It only knows that there is a base class inside there, and it needs to call the modify function, and whatever behavior we need, we'll just inherit this modifier base and implement it inside the modify function. So this gives us a bit of like good coding practice and something that will ease our whole development process